Hello, my movie peeps. Thank you so much for clicking on an episode of Side Flick. My name is Chris. We got some movie news to discuss here today. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this episode of Side Flick is mainly gonna be some DC bombshells because we just got a whole bunch of updates on the DCEU. Our first couple of details on Man of Steel 2, some big updates on the Batman universe, really that along with so much more. So I'm gonna need you guys to give me your opinions down below with everything we discuss here today. The conversation with DC lately has been whether it's on the rise or fall. This news right here gives us an optimistic look, but it really all seems to hinge on two movies, Black Adam and The Flash, and I'm watching the Blackie Adam tonight. So I'll have a review for you guys this week. So before we get all crazy with some DCEU news, we did get our first couple of posters for Creed 3. And I gotta tell you, these are some pretty badass posters. I am loving the look of these posters for Creed 3. We have here one of Michael B. Jordan as his character of Adonis, looking like he's wearing some maroon red shorts. Nice color choice. But it also gives us a look at the villain of the film, played by Jonathan Majors here, that we now know is named Damien. And Jonathan Majors is looking absolutely shredded here. The caption that runs between both posters is "You can't run from your past." And that's because the backstory that Jonathan Majors has as a villain, I think, is one interesting one. At first, we had heard that he was going to sort of be playing the long-lost brother of Adonis and then have a feud that way. Well, turns out that wasn't entirely the case. Thanks to viewer Annan here, who's become a reliable source on the channel, he let us know what the plot is and backstory involved with Damien in Creed 3. He says here, his name is Damien. He was Adonis's best friend when they were in the group home, and by all accounts, he's the best villain in the entire Rocky franchise. Creed 3 has screened a couple of times, and a repeated thing I've heard is people cheering for Damien over Adonis. That right there already fascinates for Creed 3. For one, I really love that backstory. We saw at the very beginning of Creed that Adonis was in this juvenile detention, was getting into fights, and it looks like Damien was one of his best friends there. They probably talked and dreamed of getting adopted, ending up in a nice home, and then when Adonis actually got adopted by a rich family to go live a luxurious life, he used his family name Creed to make a name for himself and become a boxer in that world. And it looks like Damien is going the underground route, where he had to do everything the up and coming way, the rough way. So he's gonna have this hate for his friend that "you never came back for me, you never reached out to me," almost playing that sort of Rocky role and making our main character the bad guy in this situation. Just the conversations and scenes between these two characters that I can see being played out in my head. Something like, "You had a silver spoon, I had a struggle, you don't know what it's like in my shoes." Oh, this Creed movie's gonna be good. How are you guys feeling on these first posters for Creed 3 and some of these details involved with the characters? But alright, now moving on to essentially DC Central here on Side Flick, we had one bombshell of an article drop on The Hollywood Reporter. They titled it "DC at a Turning Point. James Gunn pitches secret movie, Dwayne Johnson flexes his superpowers." And a couple of things before we dive into this article. For one, it's The Hollywood Reporter, which is the smack daddy #1 movie news source of all time. So everything we have here is basically official and actually happening and not really predicated on rumors. The first thing this article lets us know is that James Gunn has pitched a secret movie and is working on another film for DC. The article doesn't really give us a hint or an idea to what that movie could be, and I know a lot of DC fans will automatically start throwing out some of the craziest names like, "Oh, he's gonna be the director for Man of Steel 2. Oh, he's gonna reboot Green Lantern." Everything we've learned from James Gunn and his interests on what to do in the DC universe is that he loves tackling unknown characters, or at least going the route of telling unknown, unpopular stories and then putting his own spin on them, and it has worked to great results for him in the past, making some really good movies. So I think whenever James Gunn reveals what mystery movie he has, we might flinch a little and go, "Oh, that's the movie he's working on? Alright," and then 2-3 years later, we're gonna get an amazing movie from him. Still, I would love it if he surprises us all and gives us something that everybody knows, because one thing about the Suicide Squad is it unfortunately flopped at the time. The pandemic was happening, it had the same day and date release, it was also coming off the back of the last Suicide Squad movie that the majority of people just weren't on board with. I wouldn't be surprised if this time Warner Brothers is like, "Look, Gunn, we want to give you another chance, but we need you to do something that'll guarantee some money on the table. Another big bombshell that was dropped in this article is the information that The Flash 2 has already been written. And I feel like that is and isn't surprising for a couple of reasons. One, the first Flash hasn't even been released, and we have no idea how that movie is going to perform. It's said to be one of the most expensive DC movies because of a lot of reshoots and just amount of visual effects, but it's also one super risky and unpredictable to see how much money it's going to make because of Ezra Miller. Recent headlines on the Scarlet Speedster have said that they're going to be pleading not guilty to a couple of felony charges. And if for whatever reason the courts decide against Ezra Miller or they do get convicted, they could be facing up to 26 years in prison, which would be just wild to have the story of Ezra Miller end up with them going to prison for 26 years. Still, with them having money and power in Hollywood, you know they're going to get off with a slap on the hand. But the other reason it's not that surprising that The Flash 2 is already written and ready to go is, one, this movie was almost set and ready to go all the way back in 2019. That was the original release date for this movie. Then the pandemic happened, then delays went on, behind the scenes stuff where they started changing the story every other month, especially now to fit this new future that the DCEU is setting up. They have had plenty of time to figure out where they want the future of the Flash to go. Plus, it also helps that every test screening of the Flash has been super positive and people seem to really enjoy this movie, which makes it all the more sad all the controversy involved with the film. I'm just curious how they're going to tackle the beginning of the Flash 2, where they introduce a brand new actor as Barry Allen, or are they going to focus on another Flash character like Wally West? Only time will tell on that one. One of the more major things that was revealed in this article that has me pretty hyped is an update on Matt Reeves' The Batman universe. Here in the article, they explain that Reeves is plotting more. The filmmaker is meeting with writers and directors to build out movies. Yes, movies, not just series, focused on Batman's rogue gallery, both established and more obscure, with characters ranging from Scarecrow to Clayface to Professor Pig. All those projects are in very early stages of gestation. It looks like we're not only going to have the DCEU rolling on, trying to have this connected universe, hopefully leading to another Justice League movie, but Matt Reeves as the Batman was such a success and loved by people that it's going to get its own little mini universe now. The idea that Matt Reeves is currently sitting down with filmmakers and writers so that they can continue to expand out the world he's already set up very nicely in his movie, I think is an exciting notion, but is one that makes me a little curious to why they're doing it this way. I think we know at Warner Bros. And DC, the thing to always do is just stretch out Batman for all the money he's worth. I mean, that's how we freaking got an animated Batman series about his car. But having solo movies on villains within the Batman universe, could that actually look cool? Like, I know Scarecrow would probably be a really great movie. That's a character a lot of us are familiar with, but the same thing with like the Sony Spider-Man spin-off movies. If you're going to introduce a Scarecrow villain in that universe to be the villain for that Batman, well, I want to see that Scarecrow fight the Batman. I don't know if I want a whole movie dedicated to an excuse for why that villain isn't fighting the Batman in that moment. Now, Clayface is an interesting name that popped up because that is one character that has out of the ordinary powers. Matt Reeves seems to have built a Batman universe that is very grounded, similar to Christopher Nolan's, where it's hard to imagine supernatural or out of the ordinary stuff happening there. And Clayface, this being that can like shapeshift, I feel doesn't fit with the grounded approach, but having maybe Matt Reeves talk to other filmmakers and writers, it can open that door for supernatural type elements to be introduced into the Batman universe. Because Reeves only seems interested in telling grounded stories, but maybe if he hands it off to someone else who is way more excited to tell the fantastical side of Batman, that could be beneficial for the universe. I would hate it though if the movie ends up being a regular human guy that literally gets clay and molds his face into different masks. You know that would be the way Christopher Nolan would have went. The only thing that can make me feel a lot better about these characters getting solo movies, if one, Batman does get a bit of a cameo or introduction at the end, because it would be so awesome to have like the first 80% of the movie be that origin, be that story of the villain, and the last 20% encountering Batman getting sent to prison. Almost every series end that way, where they get caught, get sent to prison, much like the Riddler, much like the Joker, and then by the time we get to the Batman 3 with Robert Pattinson or the fourth movie, it's Arkham Asylum time, baby. It's all those villains we just set up going out at once. That'd be my thinking. But okay, the biggest news from from this article that everyone is just jumping up and down about, going crazy, cheering to the heavens, is it looks like Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill is actually going to be happening. In the article, they state Warner's has an intense desire to reprise the Cavill iteration of the hero. The project that would essentially be Man of Steel 2 is being produced by Charles Roven and is currently in search for writers. There is a wish list, of course, and Christopher McQuarrie, the hand that guides the Mission Impossible movies, was on it. Okay, so many things to talk about with this Superman reveal, and we gotta start out here with honestly thinking Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Let me show you this video real quick of what he said.
There's some great surprises in this movie, but, you know, the best is for last. Without revealing any spoilers, obviously, what did you have to do to get that surprise across the finish line? I know your team helped, but what did you have to do? Was there a phone call?
Man, good question. Thank you for asking a question like that.
Oh, no problem.
Yes, phone calls, meetings, but man, it was years. This was 6 years to get that done. I'm going to say that again. 6 years. We first started talking about this, and they kept saying no. Now that leadership isn't there anymore, because we usher in a new era in the DC universe, and we usher out an old era in the DC universe too as well.
So right there, The Rock is talking about this surprise cameo that really isn't a surprise anymore. Everybody knows about it. Superman is set to show up in Black Adam. And this is something Dwayne Johnson had wanted for over 6 years. He was pushing so hard for it, but he was constantly getting told no. In this article, they make it clear the person that was telling Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson no was Walter Hamada. This was kind of the Kevin Feige for the DCEU before this new regime is starting to change things. He's the one that greenlit a lot of the movies that we have seen in the past couple of years with DC, and he was trying to make some major changes in the universe, greenlighting things like a Supergirl movie. He greenlit the Batgirl movie, and it was also him wanting to do a black Superman story instead of Henry Cavill's Superman. And after what they did to Batgirl in the movie he greenlit, he wants to leave Warner Brothers as soon as possible, and I kind of want him to now after all this. How could for 6 years you be telling no to getting back Henry Cavill's Superman? We could have had Superman 2 long time ago. But no, and it was honestly just because Walter Hamada seemed so disdained with Zack Snyder and his version of the universe, he didn't want to keep feeding that version to the fans. Which is just a side of Hollywood with beefs and whatnot that I think are ridiculous. But for my people who are really in love with Zack Snyder's version of Superman and that first Man of Steel, then I'm gonna admit that's actually my favorite Zack Snyder superhero movie. I love Man of Steel. This sequel, I think, is going to be entirely different than what a lot of people are expecting. For one, we know they're not going to bring back Zack Snyder. He's happy over there in Netflix doing his own thing. He's not coming back for this. Two, they seem very dedicated to getting new fresh blood into the DCU and giving a different version of Superman. And even though I'm someone who really liked Man of Steel in that iteration of Superman, I'm so excited to see this new version, because I'm telling you, it's going to be a happy, it's going to be a bright, it's going to be a colorful version of Superman that I think a lot of us have been dying to see. Christopher McQuarrie, who's worked on a lot of the newer Mission Impossible movies, I think would be fantastic. I've also always campaigned for Matthew Vaughn to do a Superman movie. But I think that's the thing I want to prepare some fans for, is this is going to be a very different movie since Man of Steel. It is 10 years later. This is essentially going to feel like a soft reboot, the same way Charlie Cox has gotten reintroduced in the MCU. They're not going to call this sequel Man of Steel 2. No way they do that. They're going to call it something else, like Man of Tomorrow, or just Back to Superman, or The Superman, which I highly doubt. There's even rumblings that when Dwayne Johnson got Henry Cavill and Warner Bros. In the same room to work things out so they can make this cameo in Black Adam happen, in that same negotiation and deal, they worked it out so Cavill gets 3 more movies, which that would be amazing. Then we would have 4 Henry Cavill Superman movies in total. Thank you, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Really, the only bad piece of news within all this DC stuff is they do mention here that the Zatanna movie that I was really looking forward to is looking to be canceled at Warner Brothers, or actually shopped around somewhere else. So it could still happen, but it's going to be maybe premiering on Netflix or some other streaming service that Warner Brothers has licensed out that character to, which just lets you know it's not part of the DCEU and it'll be its own standalone thing, which could be awesome if it still happens. But it just goes to show you Warner Brothers Brothers right now is focused on A-list superheroes in their lineup, and then eventually they might get to some of these lower characters that not a lot of people heard of. I think it's a step in the right direction. I am excited to see what they do. I need to hear from you guys. What do you think of all this news that DC has dropped? What is your favorite piece of news? Do you think any of this will even come to fruition? This would not be the first time we are promised so much stuff with the DCEU and then it never happens. I'm thinking this time is different, but we'll see. But that is all the movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.